right? That is the first thing that they use. Number one, the argument here is not that Tahir White is ignorant. The argument is not that Tahir White has never studied. The argument is not that he has never studied under the scholars or that he is not known to the scholars. So to use the PhD and the fact that he has studied as an evidence to take from him is an irrelevant and an erroneous argument, because that is not the argument to begin with. So Tahir White has studied, he has a PhD, he has taught in seasonal times in the Prophet's Masjid. Those affairs are not and have never been evidences for one's Salafiyah, nor for one's or for one to take from that individual. There are people that teach in the Prophet's Masjid who are considered scholars, who are deviants and have aqeedah issues, and they're not taking from, and they've been refuted by scholars. There are those who carry PhDs, the likes of Yusuf al-Qardawi, who is a known deviant and an ikhwani. There are many who hold PhDs, however those PhDs do not tell us whether they are Salafi or not. It simply means that they attained a PhD. It does not mean that is an evidence for one's Salafiyah or for one's qualification to be teaching others, meaning from the side of from the angle of those who are seeking knowledge. It is not an evidence, or it is not a Salafi criteria that one has a PhD that we now take from him. So that is to clarify that part. All of those arguments that people use in order to say, oh, why would we not take from Tahir? He's more qualified than anyone else in the West. He carries a PhD, and other du'at and other students do not. That is not an evidence. Because the argument, once again, is not that he is ignorant or that he does not have a PhD or that he did not study in the Islamic University of Al-Madinah. That is not the argument. Therefore, to respond with he has this and he has that and he has done this will not give you the leeway or the permission to take from anyone, whether Tahir or anyone else. That is the first point. Inshallah, that is clear. We have Salafi criteria. We take from the Salafi manhaj on who we take our deen from. The Salaf, Muhammad bin Sirin, rahimahullah, has stated the famous and well-known statement, إِنَّ هَذَا الْعِلْمِ دِينٌ فَانظُرُوا عَمَّنْ تَأْخُذُونَ دِينَكُمْ. إِنَّ هَذَا الْعِلْمِ. Indeed, this knowledge of the deen, of the religion of Al-Islam, deen. Inna hadha al-ilm deenun. This knowledge is religion. And he did not say, look to who you take your ilm from. He said, فَانظُرُوا عَمَّنْ تَأْخُذُونَ دِينَكُمْ. When you are looking to who you are going to take knowledge from, you have to be conscious of the fact that you are taking your religion from this person, and then whatever this person teaches you is what you are going to be worshipping your Lord with. It is the belief that you are going to die with and that you are going to stand in front of your Lord with. And so, لَيْسَ الْأَمْرُ يعني هَيِّن. The affair is not an easy affair or something that should be taken lightly. This is a serious affair, so you have to take it seriously. Emotions need to be put aside. Arguments that are baseless and have no basis in the Salafi manhaj have to be put aside. Any type of affiliation or love or bias or anything like that, not saying that anyone has that, but all of those things have to be put aside, and one has to be conscious of the fact that they are going to be taking their religion from this person. And so you should value your religion, value your akhirah, when you are deciding who you are going to be taking your knowledge from. And don't dismiss things that you see with feeble arguments and weak arguments, like someone has praised or this one has said this and the affair is not clear. Think about your akhirah. before you understand the details of the situation, the least that you can say is that this affair is not clear. I should protect my religion and stay away, since I know some of these things go against the Salafi minhaj that he's doing. But to argue for the fact that he should be taken from, or no one should be speaking about him, etc., etc., when you yourself see the errors, that is not a correct methodology, nor is it in agreement with the principles of Islam. If you have a doubt, you stay away from that matter. You do not argue for the fact that you should continue to be taken from the person. So inshallah, that is the first point, and I'll address the second point now bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The second point that was mentioned is the fact that there are scholars who are upon the Salafi manhaj who have praised Tahir Wayat. And that is correct. There are Salafi scholars that have praised Tahir Wayat in the past. Now, what do we do? And so the things that we are seeing from him today, what we know and we see that which opposes, do we stick to the praise and say no one can say nothing? Is the minhaj of the Safiq that we've been warning against. So that is why I mentioned, what have we benefited from the minhaj of the Safiq if we ourselves are repeating their same rhetoric and their same manhaj based on what we see? Meaning, if the individual, his condition and what he is doing is not in agreement with the praise that he has received from a scholar, we do not look to that praise. No matter how great that scholar is, no matter how important that scholar is, no matter how much we love that scholar, no matter how much we respect that scholar. And that is what we've been learning from the fitna of the Safiqa in reality. And that is why we rejected their praises for them. And so why is it any different for Tahir Wayat? S-Pubs and Germantown and all these other people and Troy, etc., we've seen their fitna, we've seen their extremism, we've seen their oppression on Salafis, clear Salafis. And so when scholars praised them, we didn't accept it. And we see from their actions and from their speech and from their behavior that which opposes that praise from that scholar, we respectfully do not accept that praise for them. Rather, we base our position regarding these individuals, the apparent, what we see from the person is how we judge them. The praise of a scholar cannot remove what we see. And what we see from the individual, if there are evidences for it, then that is what we're obligated as Salafis, as Muslims, to follow. And it is not permissible for us to follow the praise of any scholar. You know, when a scholar praises someone and then we see from the individual that which opposes the Salafi manhaj, we assume, now we see these things today. The past couple of years we've been seeing what Tahir Wayat is up to. Now we say, well, the scholar praised him, so how do we reject that praise? Well, based on the timeline, we see that the scholar praised Tahir Wayat years before these things became apparent. And now we see these things. And so that notion that many of the brothers have from the common folk, from the general folk, and so we have to put the ulama or the words of the ulama on the proper scales. We have to understand that a scholar is not infallible and does not see the unseen. And so when they praise someone based on what they see from him, not based on anything else. They only praise the individual based on what they see, and they do not have the ability to praise him based on anything beyond that. And so you have to take the praises of the scholars in that way, and not to believe that the scholar knows the intricacies and the ins and outs of every single affair of an individual and then they still praise him. No, because then you will be accusing that scholar of approving of those falsehoods of that individual, and that is bad adab with the ulama. Meaning, if you believe that Shaykh Salih al-Suhaimi still praises Tahir Wayat while he's doing the things that he's doing today, that means you have bad thoughts of the scholar, and you believe that a scholar would praise someone A Salafi scholar would praise someone knowing the falsehood that he's now upon, or the things that he's currently doing. And so that has to be paid attention to and considered. The third point is that there are no scholars who have criticized Tahir Wyatt. That there are no scholars who have criticized Tahir Wyatt, and that is incorrect. A long time ago, probably over a decade, Sheikh Rabi' ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, Hafidhahullah, criticized Tahir Wyatt for him choosing to remain unclear. Sheikh Rabi' asked him to clarify certain things. He chose not to. And he went to Sheikh Salih Suhaimi and complained about it. And Sheikh Salih Suhaimi told him not to do it. And he used that as his shield and his scapegoat, not to clarify things that any Salafi would have no problem clarifying. His positions regarding certain innovators, etc. He chose not to do it. And he was criticized by Sheikh Rabi' ibn Hadi. That all it takes from anyone is to simply gather the current affair, the issues that Tahir Wyatt is doing today, and take it to a Salafi scholar, remove his name, even the scholars who have praised him in the past. Mention the things that he's doing and remove his name, and see how they speak about that individual. And so we cannot base our position based on the knowledge of the scholar